Please sit down. Recently, I went to a Delhi University or medical sort of institution. I check. They say perfect, no change, no problem. Then I want to show my teeth, which my mother gave, still that. No single teeth loose. Thank you. Our annual.
Your Holiness, good to see you again.
Thank you.
On behalf of all of your Mind and Life friends,
Right?
we are really happy to be here.
Thank you.
It has been 3 years since we've seen you in person because of the COVID pandemic. And this makes it extra special.
Thank
It's
you.
really good to see you looking so well. And what else makes it special is that this is a collaboration, this event, between Mind and Life Institute and Mind and Life Europe, our friends of Mind and Life Europe, together. And the other thing I want to note is that exactly 35 years ago, in October of 1987, was the first Mind and Life dialogue. And here we are, seeing you in good health 35 years later. So we're so happy to be back. Thank you.
Thank you. 다? 맞아, 나 소드 심, 是吧? 대촌도 당하죠. 차카시 심벌이. 대개체 무시무시리셔.
So we have had quite a lot Mind and Life dialogues, and I feel they have been really important.
나도 전부는 네가 알아. 칭호불로 도나 쉬우죠래. 다 섬그 남샤데 쉬우랑 신문도가.
So in the world, if we look around, there is a tremendous attention paid to understanding the physical world, the matter, the material world. But when it comes to exploring the nature of mind and what is inside our mind, there seems to be much less attention.
이내 땅 아주 디두 영야데 셰바지 강르와.
But in the end, the fact is, when we talk about human experience of happiness and suffering, we are actually talking about experience, which is mental, which is inner.
세상가 logically 난 셰바디 시티 파피지면은 아니 뭐부야게 그저 요네 대상 원난가 매들 소리.
So therefore, given the importance of the role of mind in our experience, irrespective of how fantastic material facilities we may have around us, but if there is no peace of mind, if there is no settledness within, then the person may not actually enjoy happiness.
저분은 대가리야 지금 멍주고 선배 강에 멍구지 뭐부야게 코나라 믹체 엔 디드데니 독수 바와.
So, in fact, we could also say that many of the conflicts that we see, including war in the world, has to really do with, disputes about resources. It's about material things, and which is also the competition leads to, acquisition of power and abuse of power. And all of these are really about matter, material resources.
당한서 대배 가란저다 중어디기 냠뇽을 주 키체 다 가서 마음 발라 담신 저불이 차트가 깨베 로커스 대로이면 메신 간다 가나서 어떤 중주디 아니 대베 냠뇨로 때네 다 원래 차네 디기 영야 그 싸워르디 심기 시디 싸워디 잠재셔야 되리샤.
So even though when we think about the current climate crisis, how many more time we humans may have on this planet seems to be actually open to question. But regardless of how many time we may have on this planet for humans, it is really important to reflect upon past events and experiences and learn from them, and then really kind of extrapolate the key insights and learning that we have gathered from our past experiences so that we really build a future where we emphasize happiness, togetherness, and peace. And at the root, for a key factor for that is to really cultivate a peace of mind, a peace within. And if we have built a peace within, then there's a real chance we'll be able to build a peaceful, happier humanity that can live together by learning from past experiences.
So peace of mind.
Sorry, and His Holiness said that the peace of mind, at the root of that is compassion.
Oh, actually, we human being, as soon as we're born, our mother take care. Our mother give us the value of compassion. So without that, we can't survive. That is the beginning of our life. I always feel now important thing is a child, we very much sort of live in the atmosphere of compassion. Children, neighboring children, always play together. We are not making distinction of what race, rich and poor, or what religion. Play together. And I was very small. At my birthplace, I play all the children, whether Muslim or whether, I think some Chinese, no distinction, same. So long, smile. So the key factor our life, I believe, warm-heartedness, compassion. If that's there in daily life, even sleep, very nice. With some frustration or anger, and even sleep, suffer. So, peace of mind, very important for our life. So, and also you see peace of, and inner peace here also create better body, healthy body. Too much anxiety, anger, even physical level, harmful. So whether we accept religion or not, we need more warm-hearted feeling. I believe basic human nature is, as I mentioned earlier, like that. So now I feel, you see, something we kasurida
Neglect.
ka
Neglect sungguh.
tonameba
Neglect.
neglect in education field. Children with parent and children, neighboring children, we play together. No sort of, how to say, the distinction. At once we join education field, then suppose education, more knowledge, what is races, what is, how to say, family background, these things. I very much believe in education. We should include the how to build healthy body, healthy mind. They are now more compassionate mind gives you inner peace, inner strength. So our whole life, you see, according to that feeling, that's very good. But in education, not much emphasis. The other knowledge, rather than other knowledge, not basic human value. So now, a time come in our education field, the warm-heartedness should be part of education without touching any religion, simply for health, for peace of mind. So actually, I'm hoping now sometime in next few months, my visit to Delhi, I'm thinking meet some professors of some university in Delhi in education field without touching any religion, but simply how to keep peace of mind. And the seed of peace of mind is warm-heartedness. And also for health, also you see very, very connected peace of mind. So I'm thinking, discuss professors, different university in Delhi, in modern education, you see how to introduce about the value of compassion without touching any religion. The India usually say secular, so entirely based on secular, and for health reason or peace of mind, so compassion, altruism is something very useful. So that I'm thinking to discuss. As I mentioned earlier, basic human nature is because we are sort of social animal. Our life depends on other. So, according to that reality, now till we live among the humanity, the warm-heartedness is very important. Religion is something different.
Yes.
So I really uh, feel important to discuss some professors in Delhi University how to introduce an education field without a name of religion, but simply for health reason or peace of mind reason. Or in education, we should have some sort of explanation or some knowledge how to keep inner peace of mind, compassion. That also gives you inner strength.
Richie.
So now,
Your Holiness, it is really so wonderful to be together again with old friends and also some new friends. Today and tomorrow, we are going to be featuring 4 scholars. We have an anthropologist, a psychologist, a philosopher, and a cognitive scientist. And we, today in the world, we see increasing challenges that range from climate change to loneliness and depression. Depression, for example, is now, we know, the leading cause of disability and ill health worldwide, according to the World Health Organization. And these
Depression, Yorwa.
Depression.
No.
And these trends have been increased by the pandemic. Loneliness, for example, we know is more than 2-fold a risk factor for mortality compared to obesity. So we are going to be exploring what makes us human. We will see the importance of culture for human survival and explore the value of interconnectedness and the possibility of cultivating a global identity as world citizens, something I know that Your Holiness has been deeply concerned about for your whole life. We will also explore what it means to be a social animal and the value of the space in between people as a strategy to overcome polarization, which is really at the root of the challenges to democracy in the world today. And finally, we will critically examine the pitfalls of the global interconnected digital world and how artificial intelligence perpetuates and strengthens the biases that are eating away at our democratic institutions. The motivation for all of this scholarship is to make this troubled world a better place. A world where kindness and compassion and wisdom are clearly valued. Your Holiness, I know I speak on behalf of all of my colleagues, and I want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your unswerving dedication to meet with scientists and scholars over 35 years. We know your vision and Francisco's Varela's vision in 1987 to start the Mind and Life Institute has been enormously impactful. And we wish you to continue to live a long and healthy life so that we can have these dialogues continue to serve. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, peace of mind is very important for even health reason. complete, inner peace brings self-confidence and sleep without fear. Very important. So all this, if we too much emphasis about material value, then sometimes feeling of jealousy, sometimes fear, all things. But the basic human value or affection, which our parent give us, particularly mother give us, that is really precious thing. That should carry whole our life. Modern education should include, as I briefly mentioned, I'm thinking, discuss how to introduce in education field without touching religion, simply warm-heartedness. And then for that, the brain specialist also, have some, I think, experience. Peace of mind, good sleep, even dream, no fear. I think it may affect brain. Much anxiety, frustration, I think affect our brain. So, health reason, peace of mind, very important. And through that way, long life. I'm thinking, although my life, a lot of, turbulence. But I believe, but I'm student of, I can say, psychology, which in Nalanda tradition mentioned how to bring peace of mind. So that I practice these things, I learn, so very helpful. Although my situation is a lot of problem, but I always, can keep peace of mind. And even, troublemaker, we feel compassion. Oh, how ignorance them. No feeling of anger. So that really very, very helpful. One's own peace of mind. So compassion, in a way, really the seed of inner strength. No fear, no jealousy, no anger. So now, usually people consider, compassion, these things, something religious matter. Now we should introduce in education field without touching any religion, simply, peace of mind.
Yes.
So as I briefly mentioned in Delhi, I am going to discuss in education should include education about peace of mind, inner strength, for health reason, for peace of mind. So nothing to do with religion. That's I am thinking.
Roshi?
According to my own little experience, my life is a lot of turbulence, but all these years, the best medicine is peace of mind. I never use tranquilizer. Sorry. So I always see can keep here peace, compassionate.
뭐 고추신 띵.
Ah,
더 몰라 고추.
yes.
Your Holiness, let's go down light. It's just on behalf of all of the people here, we are experiencing a lot of joy to see you so healthy and robust, and it's inspiring for us. So I want to express my joy personally in seeing you again after so many years.
닌제 걸서서
Now the similar 조이시다 기도스. similar 조이 기도스. 군인들 구수 야보시라도스. 마제와 교를 붙인 버릇에 간다 고감다도 야보도. 아주 참에 similar 조이 기도스.
according to some mysterious indication, my life 110
Good.
mainly.
We're
So
counting on it.
so still few decades.
Your life is a prescription that is inspiring all of us.
가서
Thank you.
근데 군대 그 단다도 고들은 무시해야 다 투게 숙심부 나야 돼. 아주 참말이야. 배전으로 차게 됐어. 심슈대.
now serious thing is judging past human history on this planet. A lot of violence. And various countries spend a lot of money for weapon. Now that, I think gradually we should change in order to create peaceful world.
You know, what you're saying is so important right now, Your Holiness, because the world, we're in a very vulnerable time.
그래서
다대주들이야 강해지 강태대요. 군대 간난 받대 버렸어. 모란디 패제
I believe, I always was telling, you see, we should teach our children from young age, we all human beings are one, same. The way born, the feeding mother's milk, we all 7 billion human beings, same. Then you see differences, nationality, political system, all these things, you see, actually our own mental creation, education, you see, make distinction of different country, different races, different religion, these things. You see, later develop these ideas because of the way of educate. We must emphasize right from the beginning. With 7 billion human beings, we are same human brothers, sisters. We have to live together. No longer say my nation, their nation, and suspect. That now outdated. Look, too much sort of emphasis about different nation or different color never brought some happy life, fear,
그래.
distrust.
몰라디
아.
몰라 못이네 나šan데 아메로.
No.
너
So now,
Good
we
luck.
we should emphasize all 7 billion we human beings are same human brothers, sisters. I come from Tibet and live in India many years, I always have the feeling we are same.
Yeah.
Although I'm monk, otherwise I can marriage with people different color. So I believe, you see, oneness of 7 billion human beings. We have to live together. Actually, we all human brothers, sisters. The way we born, the way we die, we all same. Too much sort of emphasis, differences, different nationality, different country. That I think old thinking. Now should think world, humanity. All are, you see, same human sort of being, same. All human brothers, sisters. I born in Tibet, little isolate. But then come India with the feeling we are same human being. Then wherever I go, I always have the feeling of human brothers, sisters. No feeling of we are Tibetan, there are something different and some kind of distance. I never feeling that so long human being, two eyes and there's one mouth, and then we are same. If I met someone, 3 eyes, then I feel a little bit sort of surprise or distance. But actually, we all same human face and feeling also, you see, more or less same. The education makes some differences. Now that as I mentioned briefly, I'm seriously thinking education system should have more emphasis oneness of 7 billion human beings. And we need world peace. All human beings is giving sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. We have to live together. And through that way, peaceful world.
Your Holiness, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Joe Henrich, because he will be actually addressing the very questions that you're bringing up here. So Dr. Henrich is the Ruth Moore Professor of Biological Anthropology at Harvard University. And I wanted to say that his work is extremely interesting. It involves field work among indigenous peoples, but also he brings together many different disciplines, from psychology, anthropology, economics, and evolutionary anthropology. And what is so powerful about his work is the relationship between biology and culture. And this is the first time that we've focused on this content in these meetings. So we're so fortunate that Joe is with us today. He has a lab at Harvard University that applies evolutionary theory to understand human behavior, psychology, cultural diversity, exactly, the thing that you're talking about, and that is focusing on human cooperation, decision-making, social norms, innovation, religion, kinship, and marriage. So they're doing extraordinary work in really understanding how these social institutions influence actually our genetic expression. And today, his presentation will explore the long-running interaction between culture and genes.
가서
Gene,
culture.
genetics, culture, the biology, gene, the culture, then the gene, the genetics, the gene, biology, the culture.
And how this relationship actually shapes our minds. So, Joe.
Thanks, Roshi. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my research. In my lab, we're focused on the question of what makes us human. So how is it that we, among all the animals that ever existed, have expanded into nearly all of the Earth's major environments? How have we survived and thrived in these diverse environments? And this is not a recent problem. Humans expanded across the Earth over 100,000 years ago, and we ended up in the malarial swamps of New Guinea and in the Arctic tundra, Siberia, and eventually Canada. So the question is, how is our species able to dominate all of these different environments? Now, when scholars and researchers have tried to engage this question of what makes us human and what led to the secret of our success, they've often pointed to specific human capacities like language, tool using, reasoning, and our cooperative inclinations. But what we do in my lab is we try to look beneath that and ask what the shared patterns are and what brought this about. How did we get there? How did we get these different abilities? So the key insight that we've come to is that humans are a cultural species. More than any other species, we acquire a vast body of knowledge from other members of our social milieu. So skills, attitudes, emotional reactions, ways of thinking, all kinds of practices. And importantly, in the case of humans, our culture is cumulative. So each generation gets a cultural inheritance from the prior generation, and we modify, hone, refine, and pass that down to the next generation, generating a cumulative body of knowledge that allows humans to survive and thrive.
곰시다, 근데 또 rishune 사제.
가서
mirabne ya zite gores midin zu turuda mendawa. Mirabji ga toliya saba she shabata, loge chung shabata, 곰시다, rishun digeti, and mirabji na jigla zite je, and min shenyun de chubushibu chagi gores, turuda mendawa.
가서 축구.
축부 라 미 shenyun de chubushibu chagi gores. 편집부시 매럽직네 지바 찌대샤고 그러와
그래.
대시윤 디게도 곰시다 아니 삼당당다 시윤다 로게다 디게도 삼마 매럽직네 지바 찌대고 그래서 딘자 메도 트루다 만라베 토네 리숑고 토네 리숑데 매럽네 매럽지 대고 요걸 데 토네 개번 두두스.
So this
Now, I believe, you see, now basically the life of our world also now limited. Global warming. So now some scientists say, you see, global warming gradually world itself fire. So now thinking, now the world itself now facing end. The 낭베 숑고 나로래야 깨바 면식 춘식 룽지스도가 그때 면식이 연구해 소시도.
So in Buddhist cosmological text, there is an understanding of different phases of evolution, and the world actually eventually coming to an end as due to forces of elements such as heat and fire. So it looks like we might be heading towards that direction.
Well, now, the question of how long our world remain. This is very serious now matter. Now, sooner or later, you see ending of our world. So while we still alive, then it is silly, it is a meaningless fight. My nation, your nation, my religion, their religion. The simple reason is a fight. Now time come, we have to think. We all 7 billion human beings. We are same human brothers, sisters. We have to live together. And then the past human history make a distinction, fight. Even today, a lot of military forces, these are outdated. Now we should think, we all human beings, same human brothers, sisters. We have to live side by side. So, according to my own experience, little experience, come to India, I consider we are same. Much better. With this feeling, visit Europe, Africa, some Latin America, with the feeling we are same. Then no mentally, no barrier. So therefore, now time come, we have to make effort to create idea, the sameness of all 7 billion human beings, actually our brothers, sisters. Now Russia, and
Ukraine.
Ukraine. This, you see, short sighted, complicated, but long time, they have to live together. It's much better with the feeling of brotherhood, sisterhood, work together.
Thank you so much,
So-
Your Holiness. Your Holiness, Joe, will you continue?
Yeah, and I just want to dovetail off what you were saying. So, one of the things, I mean, what we're trying to do in my lab is get to human nature. And one of the reasons I think we've had a problem getting to human nature in the past is that we haven't sufficiently considered the way that culture, the products of culture, have shaped our human genetic evolution, changing human nature in ways that we don't see in other species and that are unexpected. So it's this inheritance of this non-genetic information producing things like fire and cooking and tools and different ways of thinking and medical practices has shaped our physiology, our anatomy, and our minds. So, and most people don't realize this, how much of our physiology has been shaped by genetic evolution. Let me give you an example. So,
Hold on one second.
No, so go ahead.
가져보자.
Tana the rikshung ki komshi dan di tone mi
Kare.
rikshung or culture. Culture dan the deg komshi ki tone mi supule evolution ki tone gyodro yores. Pena mi thoma metaya ngoshi bata dine khala zö je saya da de rikshung ki komshi ki tone subu genetically gyothe yores ta kono mutun shuyerisha. Go ahead.
I think the example will help. So we humans can innately make fire or cook. We learn from other people how to do that, and it's really hard to figure out on your own. But long ago, over 1 million years ago, people began learning from others how to make fire and cook. And this became prevalent enough that evolution shaped our colons, it shortened our colons, made our stomachs smaller, shrunk our teeth, and made our jaws weaker. So that's one aspect of our physiology that has been shaped by cultural evolution. Other parts have been shaped as well, like our brains. So by studying other animals and the stones and bones of ancient human ancestors, we can see that culture probably drove the expansion of our brains. So that a lot of what our big brains are for are acquiring, storing, and processing the information that we learn from others. You mentioned before how mothers can have this big influence on kids. And that's in part because this process of gene culture coevolution extended our childhood so that during childhood, we can wire in social norms and the kinds of things we're exposed to, aspects of language.
그래서
그래서 간다데 미 곰시다 릭슌다 냠뇽다 드레게 돈에 메럽질 지지지게 요레스 디자 벤다나 구두카나 마나지게 부구충중 살론 제베갈라 아메 아마다 부구 데와데 토르 슈겐시비스 테게어바 데 테게 요주갈라 다디 아주 지조게 심진 윤두갈라 디 토네 베나 미 부구이나 간다 아말리아 체 뜨야 투주드 링하다 투두신다라 뜨네 데 디링갈이야 아니 아메자네 네주 망부지 냠용 또는 장기어스다 주주데 쿠란 내가 대원 들으샤 미 수부이 주르와데 르슝구 냠용다 곰시다 아니 고고를 뚜인제 아니 수부에 교원도요레스 evolution now
I believe important is the concept of oneness of 7 billion human beings. That we have to live on this planet. Now, a time coming, no longer emphasis my nation, their nation, and my religion, their religion. That's old thinking. Now, new situation we are facing. One example, as I mentioned earlier, global warming. If global warming make distinction, this nation escape, that nation will suffer. No, we all use the same way. So therefore, now our old thinking, this nation, that nation, my religion, that religion, that's old thinking. Now things become quite serious. And with old thinking, too much violence, too much war, no use. Now we have to think really happy world on the basis of we all same human being. We have to live together. Actually, we 7 billion human beings are our brothers, sisters. We have to live together. That thinking, you see, now no relevant my nation, their nation, and make preparation for fight each other. Now that time already gone. Now at least Taiwanese and mainlander, some problem. But these are actually small matter. Same people, same culture, same language, should think more broader way, not a small thing.
So one of the things that my intellectual endeavor is to figure out a more nuanced and detailed understanding of human nature so we can begin to build the notion of oneness that you're suggesting. So this process of culture gene coevolution that I've been telling you about, it's shaped our psychology in ways that could be useful to us in building that oneness. So for example, there's a domain of psychology that I call norm psychology. And this is a case where cultural evolution went first. And first it created a world of social rules, which we call norms, where when you break them, people will get angry with you or annoyed with you, and kind of these rules that govern the social world. And genetic evolution went second and gave us a psychology and a mind that expects there to be social rules in the world and allows us to internalize those norms as motivations in themselves. So this can lead to a form of true altruism when we internalize a highly cooperative norm. They also lead to things like anger when someone violates a norm. And Molly's going to talk about moral outrage in a few minutes. also the tendency to punish norms. So that's one piece of human nature that we may be able to put to work. A second aspect of human nature is called our interdependence psychology. Now, this is a case where cultural evolution went first, and it spread cooperative norms like food sharing. So anthropologists have studied diverse societies and found groups will often share food widely. And once that exists, selection builds a psychology that tries to figure out who is in this interdependent network, because their existence, health, and survival directly affects your existence, health, and survival. So you have a kind of very natural altruism towards those you perceive in your interdependent social network. In societies, we can study other societies to figure out how they have queued this up. So there are certain face-to-face rituals. Some of these rituals involve frightening people together. There are also common eating practices which help to cultivate this interdependent psychology. So we may be able to harness them. The third aspect of human nature we call ethnic psychology. Here again, the world was first built by cultural evolution. So culture creates groups that have different norms, so just like you've been talking about, different countries. But because of how cultures passed on, those groups are often marked by different languages, dialects, dress, things like that. So to better navigate that world, genetic evolution inclined us towards this ethnic psychology where we preferentially interact with those who share our markers and we learn from them, which can reinforce this process. This also leads to ethnic stereotyping, where if we learn about behavior of one person and they have a certain language or ethnic or dress or something, we see someone else, we assume they have the same norm, the same behavior, and that leads to ethnic stereotyping. But potentially, this could be harnessed if we could figure out how to build a kind of global identity, and using ethnic psychology to cue this up, it could be a powerful tool in our efforts to create the kind of changes you were talking about. Now, as you were noting, there's all this...
가수 again.
그래서 다른데 미 지도 나로 다 미팅 지도 심제로와 미디 미싱의 지도가 심제인데 그 지도 나로 차론체인데 그 지도가 고미시다 되게 돈에 and make psychology assembly shebal level go theory dinaloya ani chik penjun to du nezuxian da jigile dengo et nezuxian du go ya ning ne bu cha ya da yana ya ji miri jig ge jig ba dan de ge to ne ya su su jig jile ya ning ne yo ya de ge go mi ge kanda psychology cha she de ge de yo re du de simba yana da na kundu ka na ye ge ro mi ji gyu go ta go jo ro 로미 지규고 따와데 시간레질로 샤고고도 디캬베체야라 덴데 펜도 연구를 삼고도사
가래.
디 캬베체야라 투펜 수요그레 펜도 연구를 삼고도사 로미 지규고 따와 군두 까난 거로와 미상마 지규인베 따와데 두시데 디 캬베체야라 단다 디게데 신바나.
Okay. Joe.
Sure. Let's see. So I wanted to make a point about human history. And you had mentioned that there's all this conflict among societies. And this is especially the case since the origins of agriculture. Societies have had conflict over land and resources. And what's happened is societies that have institutions or cultural belief systems, religions, and rituals that allow them to scale up and cooperate in larger groups have tended to proliferate and take over and at the expense of other groups. So this has been happening for 10,000 years. But to a scientist, this is an instruction manual. We can look back at the diverse societies that this process has produced and see how they have used these cultural technologies, institutions, beliefs, rituals, all this kind of thing that allows humans to cooperate in larger groups. And these can then be reused to create this kind of global identity, or possibly to build stronger, interdependent local groups. And let me just mention one other important thing, because you've mentioned climate change.
가수도.
디 로규나라 때베나 지소 간다 강인의 편준 지기질라 뚜두다 냠룹 제통이 코퍼레이션 제통이 지소대 폐계 신부 총요레스. 그래서 코퍼레이션에 내가 전부 차기도 디 나온.
So let me just close by saying that These are just a few examples of the new insights we've gotten into human nature that could possibly be redeployed to create the kind of oneness and the strong local communities that I think we need to address some of the major challenges facing us.
Joe, thank you so much, and Your Holiness. What I'd like to do is to invite Joe and Molly to switch seats and for us to take a breath in this transition. Oh, we can't. Oh, good. All right. All right. I'm going to have a breath. We just, ooh, thank Buddha. So I've just been told we can go 2 hours. And thank you. Really. You know, it's so rich to hear His Holiness' views on things, but this is a wonderful gift for us. And at the same time, to have the opportunity to hear from Molly and Joe and their very rich perspectives. So I just want to check with John and Richie. Do we want to move right to Molly, or? I think maybe we move to Molly. And then have some reflection. 20 minutes and then Super. Got it. Got it. So, you know, in my world, we say the itinerary is subject to reality. So this is our current reality, and adaptivity is key in us surviving. So thank you. Okay. So Your Holiness, this wonderful person, Dr. Molly Crockett, is Associate Professor of Psychology at the University Center for Human Values at Princeton, and represents, I think, in our community, as you will see, the younger generation of scientists who are coming forward, who bring many different disciplines together. So Molly's lab at Princeton investigates how people learn and make decisions in social situations, exploring the neurocognitive foundations of morality, altruism, trust, and also punishment. And their research integrates theory and methods from social, cognitive, clinical, and developmental psychology, computational neuroscience, behavioral economics, philosophy, and data science. So, I mean, you know, you're seeing a different kind of scientist. Joe being a representative of the same tribe. These are scientists who bring many different disciplines together to give depth of field in understanding human nature. So what?
Bali.
Okay.
What are they? Crown fish.
In case anyone is having a sugar low,
가져오사.
we're grateful.
Dina jini ko nyezo jini na pale ngamro wa.
Yeah.
Pale ngamu inza ngamu ka nyezo ta pale choro chesa. Pale ngamu inza ngamu gabo nyezo pale choro chesa.
So we'll just take a pause while this excitement is happening. Okay.
Now, basically, I believe in the past human history, see different area, you see different language and different cultural heritage, and somehow even thinking. Due to these differences, you see some also different way of thinking. Now today, we have to think about the future.
Yeah.
We should not, I'll say, the copy about the past life.
Yeah.
The whole world changing. And as I mentioned before, the global warming. So now, judging present sort of situation, and according that, now we have to think more broad way.
Yes.
humanity, no longer sort of thinking my nation, my own community. Now time come, think about humanity on this planet. So, so I emphasize oneness of all 7 billion human beings. Now eventually, when the world become hotter and hotter, and come, we all disappear. So that's more or less now definite. So while we remain here, no use quarrel. And little sort of differences, use the reason, little differences, it's short-sighted.
So
We have to think about the whole world.
Your Holiness, this is exactly what Molly is going to be addressing in terms of her research and how the stories that we tell each other about our human nature can either constrict or contract our circle of compassion or expand it. Molly.
tana morangi tana di kundu ka nang mana shin ke morangi tana tseri gi shimju che de zaw dagarang res gi do kanda debe tan ne zu shil sha be tana maung be jong gyu le me zo ji gi jala ning ne bu yon da mi ji gyur gi du she ge to ye ge tap she khar yo re si mon research there sa Molly.
Your Holiness.
Now long future, of course, important to thinking or some plan, but immediate, eat something.
Okay.
So Molly, go for it.
Your Holiness, I am so grateful to be here today and delighted to share our research with you that really agrees with everything you've been saying so far about oneness, about how we are all connected. And as you know, and as Mind and Life has been sharing for 35 years, modern science is very consistent with your view that we are all connected. But Your Holiness, unfortunately, not everyone believes this. Many people believe that humans are fundamentally selfish and that we cannot extend our compassion towards everyone. My research looks at what happens when we tell stories about oneness and what happens when we tell stories about division. And I would be very grateful to share this research with you today.
tana de morangi shimju che be na lo ya tana jangurum je draw me zawe rang shi sang bu yin ba da mi jig le jig de ge du she de ke chim bu yin ba da jig gyu du she ke chim bu kan nang gor was re de tam mi mang bu jig de le ya yi ji jig yo mar mes lab du gol thar rang dong ko ju kyang jang da jig ji li ya nge sem cha ya ma to mi li ya sang bu du she yo mo ji ma chen ya mang bu yo res de da di moran di ko ya xue yin si du.
So, the idea that humans are fundamentally selfish is unfortunately still very popular. It's had a strong impact on policymaking, as we've seen throughout the pandemic, where leaders have repeatedly set policies motivated by the worst assumptions about human nature. But the science tells us that these assumptions are not complete, they're not correct. We know from research that helping others makes us happier. We know that generosity activates the parts of the brain that are the same parts that light up when we eat a delicious food or when we watch a beautiful sunset.
先边看到先了先了经济切不当先了经济切不当先了金不当我的穷呗那是先了金不当不当先了经济切不当先了偏不切呗那 아니 수주 레벨 나로리에 디지가 초요 버지 문제 제도 요래 세도 간다 셴리아 참부 제바다 데데게 제베나
service commerce 가서
다다 셴리아 제심 템바다 아니 짐바타와다 펜바 제베나 펜바 체녜기 미디 레베 나로로야 디기 용구 여버지 고조 쳐바 치두고 요레스페나 칼라세 신부지 사웨나 레베 나로로 디기 초고 요르와스 디나 셴기 셴레 셴펜 제베네 디 간다 디기 용구 여버지 레베 토네 통구 요레스
Now I feel the global warming, it is, some scientists say, it's more or less definite. So now, remaining few, or maybe few centuries, it is much better to live together in the concept of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Now, no longer thinking or repeat about past history. Now we have this intelligence. So thinking, now 5 senses of organs, just to see thing. Then 6th mind have the ability to analyze. So now, according I think reliable scientists, now world becoming warmer and warmer, and then gradually the time of burning world. So now that is a reality. So now, remaining few centuries, it is much better live sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, completely friendly, sort of one community, no longer thinking my nation, they're now no longer thinking. We humanity work together. Now different language, I think gradually language, you see, also you see some, gradually some change. These gradually come, okay. By force, difficult. But all these useful awareness, we are gradually ending. So while next few centuries, we should live happily, never sort of touch weapon. And then it is real sort of tragic situation happen. We all together happy. No longer sort of thinking we and they. If world burn, become, there's no use to say, oh, our enemy, our friend.
Yes.
We all same human brothers, sisters. If that really happen, then much happier. We all together singing. Then say, world, goodbye.
Your Holiness,
Much better.
thank you for saying all of these things. And I agree with your view that we are all one and that we should focus on this. Unfortunately, not everyone believes this, and many people have a view that humans are fundamentally self-interested. And the writer and activist Rebecca Solnit tells us that we are in a story crisis, that the stories that we tell about human nature are limiting our potential for cooperation and oneness. And we can see this happening.
그래. 그래. 지금 어디 자세?
We can see the story crisis happening all around us. The view that humans are fundamentally self-interested motivates the powerful to exploit working people and the earth because they tell themselves that everyone's just selfish. This is the natural order of things. And for the rest of us, it can make it harder to cooperate and act collectively.
Take tea.
Thank you.
Karsad.
zo da kan da moran jojo dewa dere sha tan da jojo dewa ro di da na kyangrum je gong she le ya dro mi za we rang xin ning cham je rang xin den ba ngon je nang yo ro re de ne mi mang bu je ge ting ngon je ma je ba je miss lap du ka le ya kha tu thar tu rang den ko ju da ne shen len den sem da de jang jang ma do shen ben ka de cham je de rang xin den ba de yin ba de ngon je chi ge yo ma de zan di dro mi za we rang xin ngon je chi dang to le ya kebar chim bu dus 디자 잠제 때문에 랑신도 문제 맞제버는 디토네 아니 강에 먹부지 되는 택이 어렸어.
We everybody want happiness. So happiness we can't buy from shops or can produce by machine. Happiness entirely depends on your own way of thinking. And way of thinking also is on the basis of past sort of event. Now that gone. Now we have to think possibility of what kind of future. Then naturally, I'll say, if you think human intelligence, then the global warming, very serious matter, and the human population also increase. So things not very happy. But that's nature.
Yes.
If you want to complain, then those people who theistic believer, then complain to God.
Your Holiness,
Buddha says everything due to our own karma. So things go like that. Okay.
Your Holiness, I agree with you that we need to be focusing on how connected we are all together. And my research has explored how we can encourage people to tell a more positive story about human nature, one that highlights how interconnected and compassionate we can all be for one another.
가져서.
다나디 쿠란기 다 심주 제바 쿠란기 세리기 심주 제연 되가라 미졸 지투도게 편준 찍을 쥐도 찍을 찍 땜베 랑신 등 원진 체투보다 아니디 잠제
더 고문다.
넣었어. 간다 모랑기 심주 치기 어려와 냠시 제베 대생 나로 제베 제연 되가라 지투도게 메조 찍을 찍den기 랑신데 심바이나 디츠고 닝니로 줘야 돼. 땡땡 도스.
That is true.
디인자니 디 냠룹 제야 담 준주티 땡땡 개반도 도스람.
Although we born just oneself, but then the rest of our life entirely depend on human community. So it is very important to create happy human community. And differences should consider minor. Basically, we all want a happy life. We all have same right to achieve happy life. And then races, different race, that's a small matter. The religion sometimes more serious. But that also, you see, people who believe religion, they're very good. According to your own religion, you should carry your life. And ordinary people, you can't force, you should believe something. No. So now, remaining few, I think, decades,
No.
tomorrow.
No, then Jatakashi
Ah.
centuries long.
About 100 years or 200 years. Use common sense, then much better live happily. No use. Now real ending now coming. No use to killing each other.
I agree, Your
Now
Holiness.
Russia and Gaza,
Ukraine.
small matter and fighting.
Your Holiness.
Now, under these circumstances, now we have to live with spirit of human brothers, sisters, happily. No need weapon, no need, and including nuclear weapon. The Korea, North Korea, these are very short-sighted. Now we should think same human being, like Korea, North Korea, South Korea. I think same language, also the way of life same, but still some small reason divided and say North and South, and make some preparation, even use nuclear weapon. These are very much short-sighted. Now we have to live longer period and a much better sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, happily.
Your Holiness, I agree with what you're saying. And you mentioned Russia and Ukraine. And this is just one example of violence that we see throughout history when people tell hateful stories about one another.
가져보자.
단어들 편수 개가 편수 초보 영역에 내
가.
개가 편수 단어 멍주 영역에 내주직디 개가 편수의 밀리아 찌기 내주디 맨다와 셰기여서 된대가 돈은 다이도 셰기게 되고 요르슬람.
Now all these short-sighted
Short-sighted.
and ultimately narrow-minded and
Yes.
think just I.
But it doesn't have to be this way. My research has studied what happens when people come together and tell a more positive story about human nature.
그래서
모랑기 심주 제바디기 안에 간다 인지미지 대나신 로고고요 말해서는 상초네 때베 나 미치주고도 셔 된대고 돌 삼당도 걸 안에 템보 연구요 버디 땡땡 체리고 돈에 룹투고요레스 결혼
When we study people coming together in mass gatherings, large groups of people like the Kalachakra ceremonies, for example, or festivals that celebrate love and creativity, people can be transformed. They can change the way they see themselves and what they care about. My lab has studied an event called Burning Man. Do you know this?
그래서
No.
단데 모랑기스 두갈 단데 심주 제베갈 뺀
그래.
두공원 제답지 초 미망부지 대비질로 초연도갈라 그 두공원 제답지 초연도갈 미다 동자 티다망 불레연도갈라 kudu sangma ge chigi ya nyebe dusheda sem sambyu chon ro ya de ko ko yores the morangi research the burning man se jore
가.
burning man mitsi ba se jore koran
그래.
burning man se jore the morangi research chesedi the tana arina ando bachi yor. Anyway, explain.
Your
It doesn't
Holiness, this is a mass gathering of 80,000 people.
미티 게스 좀 그요레사 디체도.
가
미티 게스 좀 그요레스.
가래
미티 게스지 단도 군주 단도 초고 소야 줘로 봐. 띠냠시 제세디 미티 게스 좀 그요레스. 개론.
80,000
things
people.
are really changing now China People's Republic of China originally is the anti-religion in the name of Tibetan culture, much sort of control. But now changing, the religion in general, particularly Buddha Dharma, is very much related with peace of mind. So now, more and more Chinese following Buddha Dharma. Some people say China politically, Tibet politically controlled by China. But eventually, we Tibetan can control Chinese mind. So things are changing now, really changing.
Yes.
Among the Chinese, in previously, they always say, Dale reactionary. Now no longer they believe, they also usually follow my teaching. So things are, you see, changing. Changing. Now everyone want happy life. No want fight, killing.
Your
So
Hol-
my life totally dedicated genuine world peace
Yes.
yes.
on the basis of concept all we
Same.
same human brothers, sisters. Oneness of 7 billion human beings. Live happily. Little problem we can solve through discussions. No need to weapon.
Yes, Your
Through
Holiness.
that way, we really can build a peaceful world. No weapon, no military forces.
Molly?
That's my belief.
Your Holiness, as you were saying earlier, you were talking about secular education to teach compassion.
그래서
Then the chöda manjebe tone.
가
chöda manjebe tone 닝질랍 당 지송고로 봐. 라운 디고.
And our research shows that even in a non-religious setting, when people come together and spend several days in a culture of generosity, it's very psychologically powerful. They are transformed. At these events like Burning Man, we find that people are twice as generous as we typically see in lab studies of generosity. We see that people feel more connected to all of humanity. And we see that with every day they
그래서
spend,
최대 유명한 마트.
가
최대 유명한 마트에 미망부 냠조 제제 디체온 되가라. 아니 지기질이야 로녀로야 티 징갈이야 아니 셴뱅이 쩌버데 마운드야 되게 해봐 연구도사.
one common thing, 7 billion human beings, we all come from mother. We survived with mother's affection, kindness. So I often used to telling the education field, more sort of explanation how to bring inner peace, inner strength, and good health. With that basis, important warm-heartedness in school. Usually, when we say warm-heartedness, these things people consider something religion. No, this is just basic human nature. We're born with the mother's affection. Then naturally, when we're dying, surrounded with people who genuinely showing love, sympathy, you feel much happier. So, uh, so people they spend a lot of money for ceremony way. Recently, the Queen of England, when she passed away, a lot of sort of ceremony.
Oh,
How much broad peace of mind in Queen's mind, I don't know. So in any way, peace of mind is the beginning of our life and the end of our life. Peace of mind, very important. Peace of mind, very much based on warm-heartedness.
Your,
So,
Your Holiness, as we are here today, I want to ask you and share some of our research about how leaders can help us.
가져서
디 근데 우리 속에
가
우리 속에 덴덴 펜도 첨부 용사리식도 우리 속에 단데 도미
가래.
우리 속에 잠불링 우리 여러봐
어,
우리 속에 단 도미 랑신 토레 삼당당당 주 토리야 덴덴 펜도 용사. Can you explain it? Yeah.
Yes,
but at
leaders.
least democratic country, the leaders also come from public.
Yes.
So basically, we public level thinking more wiser, more realistic. Then leaders come from that kind of society will be different. But so far, the leaders, they just copy past sort of leader, more powerful, more military strength. That is something different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, time come to the leaders, to promote genuine warm-heartedness through education and the whole society, more warm-heartedness. Now leader come from that kind of society, naturally become more warm-hearted sort of leader. So no problem. I feel like that.
It's very
Then-
important. Yes.
Then those people who really try to hold power, I want to tell them, few decades, global warming, your power, no use. So we have to think according to reality. Now, next few hundred years is much better live together and the genuinely spirit of brotherhood, sisterhood. No use any weapon, any military forces. If I have opportunity to tell or to meet some communist leader, I want to tell them. Eventually, world itself now warming. That even nuclear weapon cannot prevent that. So now, new situation, new time, better live happily in the spirit of oneness of 7 billion human beings.
Molly. No, go.
Oh, yes, Your Holiness. Leaders can play a really important role in helping us all get along together, yes? And we have studied this in the pandemic. We have looked at trust in leaders who share medicines and supplies around the world where they're needed most versus keeping at home in the home
Correct.
country all of these resources.
그래서 내염 캬베 갑라
가.
내염 데 캬베 갑라야 계급 수수수기 디 라렌 tartantes 메다와 총어스 계급 가셰리아 수수 단데 옹고 그 캅다 매주 제 상모 수수랑 냐와마도 시 계급 신다 마진예직 양 계급 리가셰 양 고시장인데 총요 어르신자 디 계급 난그 우티기 삼노당당 거 돈에 된데 개발 총샤스
And what we find
I want to share one of my sort of story. My last meeting, Chairman Mao Zedong. Next day, I'm leaving to Lhasa. So all of a sudden, one messenger come. Chairman Mao Zedong waiting there, Tunan hai. While I participated the
meeting
National Congress, kasoda
meeting lam meeting
meeting headed by Liu Shaoqi. And then one messenger come, Chairman Mao Zedong waiting me. And then I asked him, please tell Liu Shaoqi. And he told Liu Shaoqi immediately said, go. And then when I reach Mao Zedong's place, usually we call Zhonan Hai. Mao Zedong come out his room and some discussion, meaningful discussion. I'm returned next day. So you say how to lead people and you should listen people's different view, but decision should take by yourself. And Chairman Mao Zedong told me, your mind, very scientific minded, so religion is opium. And then now religion, narrow-minded way, you can say opium. But religion, you see, or say, fully utilize human intelligence, then no longer you can say religion is opium. We fully utilize. So now I really feel Chairman Mao Zedong still alive. He may become Buddhist. So we never thinking narrow way, very broad-minded. He himself, my mind is a scientific mind. So number of scientists now really is showing interest about Buddhist teaching, mainly the psychology. You see, in order to develop inner peace, way of thinking is the key factor. Not good food or good companion, but real source of inner peace is thinking. So that Buddhist, or say the doctrine, how to bring peace of mind.
Beautiful.
So that I myself, you see, have a lot of experience. A daily life, some problem, but at the time, night, thinking about Buddhist philosophy. You see, all problem is due to selfish. Think other people, that really brings your inner strength, inner peace. Wonderful. So Chairman Mao Zedong still alive. I think his thinking may change.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I want to ask you a question.
Gaza.
간디슈예요, 지금.
Yes.
Yes. We have been talking about how to have the view of oneness and interconnectedness is very important. And yet, many people believe that humans are fundamentally selfish. This can cause leaders to set policies that keep the resources at home during the pandemic rather than sharing them around the world. This can make all of us less optimistic that we can live together if we believe that other people are fundamentally selfish. Your Holiness, why do you think it is that many people still believe in selfishness, even though contemplative wisdom and modern cognitive science tell us something very different, tell us that we are all connected?
가르쳐서.
Great question.
체리다 낭베다루 니가 토네 제바체연도 그런 로미 자외랑시 잠재된 바 임바지다.
로미 가래.
자외랑시 저와 로미랑시 잠재된 바 임바지 뭐서 두부 요레스. 요르데 이네 다데 투줄이야 미망 다데 투줄이야 미망 부지가 다도이네 로미스니디 두줍젠다 란동 고줍장장 셀피시 마마도 디 잠재된 바디 랑신 군지 지금도 디 마체고에 내가르데 가와토고요 나스.
I feel our education system and materialistic thinking, I really feel in education, we should, how to say, educate student. Warm-heartedness is the key factor of peace of mind, inner strength. The student for study, peace of mind, very helpful. Too much fear, too much frustration, very harmful for study. Not talking next life or heaven and these things, simply for good study. You see, peace of mind, and peace of mind very much based on warm-heartedness. These things I really feel in education field should emphasis not something religious thing, simply in order to utilize human part of human brain which bring inner peace. Inner peace really bring self-confidence and inner strength.
Thank you, Your Holiness, so much.
So first let me
So I'd like to invite Dr. Henrik to ask a question of His Holiness.
So one of the things, Your Holiness, that you and I share is an interest in cultivating this notion of oneness. I referred to cultivating a global identity and suggested some tools we might do to cultivate that. But at the same time, we're social animals, and we need to feel enmeshed in supportive communities that are local. And we need a lot of collective action, cooperation as grassroots, working with the people around you. So do you have any thoughts on how we can resolve the tension between building the supportive local community that could get strong and overwhelm the global identity versus cultivating the global identity?
그래서
나는 경우름제 야내양도 로미 지규기 두시에 개침부 임바데 제도 난게 어레스 로미 지규 두시에 개침부 임바 제도 난게 어레스 레데네 미치라보 수수 대세기 지조 나로게 멤버 인자 지조 del이야 기 지바다 리슌 지바다 데데토네 수수 양닝녀 요레스 딘자 직 초진의 미직주르고 두셰지에 고요버체 순항어대야 수수 지조 난고 미진바 두셰지운도 걸 디니 버룰레 데스직 tension dabji dus ditolya takandaji to the ume lamdabaji gombashebe na kandaji gombashege nas.
that is true. Different nation, different language. So with that, to some extent, different way of thinking. now we are thinking humanity. So now this is one difficult subject, but we have to think all different language, despite different word, but all should carry same message, warm-heartedness. We Tibetan, all these material translated from Sanskrit or Pali. But we practice and carry that spirit same.
So His Holiness's point is that
So-
even
so
though the
now-
language may be different, but the content should be the same. So the content here he wants to promote is the oneness of humanity, to be able to identify, even though you are using different languages.
Now, education system, as I mentioned earlier, I want to some change. As I mentioned earlier, when we were young, the warm-heartedness is something very
Natural, very natural and present.
very, very helpful. So once join education, totally lacking. The warm-heartedness bring inner peace, inner strength, and your education study much improve. So this in classroom, some text, I wish more explanation, the value of warm-heartedness. This nothing to do with religion. Warm-heartedness truly increasing your mental strength.
Wonderful. So, Your Holiness, we've been granted a little bit more time. We have the possibility for 2 more questions, one from Molly and another one from Joe. And then I'm going to actually ask John and Richie to reflect, really going to essence before we conclude the session. So I'm giving you a heads up. you know, but this is such a rich discussion, and I'm just grateful that we've been given a bit more time. Molly.
Your Holiness, I want to ask you about anger. You were talking about Russia and Ukraine earlier, for example. And many of us around the world feel very angry about this. Whenever we see an injustice, we feel very angry. And anger can create more division. Anger can make us more conflicted with each other. But anger can also help motivate social justice and change. So how do you think about the role of anger in social progress and bringing us all together?
가서
디레간다 즉 시행게 마룽버 체베
가래.
미신다게 쩌바 마룽버 체연두가 당대 마이베 쩌바 체연두가 양 수수응원에 dimmedebe 톤을 룽 라야다 당샘게 연구와 디 초진에 당샘 숙심부게베나 욕다 다룬 욕다 체르 땅야게 겐치기 어르스 초현진에 시행게 마룽바다 마탕바 체바 디기들이야 야직 로착부지 송제 랑쇼 마체베나야 지조 요원도요 말이스 당대기 람 간다지 꿀롱게리아 지 콘도다한테 구구여베 소리도 당대기 레구 제야리아 꿀롱리아 콘도다 되게 요나 펜통녀럽지 디고리아 공부 가르치고나스
I believe students who are doing some mischievous thing, the teacher side, out of genuine concern of their well-being, and sort of explain inner strength is inner peace. Not, or say, badly criticize them. but to tell them your behavior is actually against the basic human nature, more compassionate. My own experience, when I getting teaching session, my teacher always was very warm-hearted towards me. Then all the lesson which I learned from such my teacher really deeply rooted in my mind. And although all my teacher, very, very kind. So in case is my teacher, little bit sort of use also harsh word, and sometimes I feel. So we human being, it is quite nature. More gentle way, everything more gentle way, it work. Or some sort of also angry face, no use. Like that. So my own case also, because of my past experience, now when I give talk, I always smile. I never show this face. It's not necessary loving kind to them, but even it's a selfish motivation. Smile, much better. That's why I believe. But a human being, really, basic nature, more compassionate. We're born from mother, and we survived with mother's compassion. And during our lesson, teacher who really show compassion, those subjects deeply touched. Now at the end come, surrounded with people who really show you genuine compassion, sense of sort of caring. You feel much happier.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Joe, I'd love to hear another question from you, please. And thanks, Molly.
Your Holiness, so my question builds a little bit off my previous question. When we were discussing, I told you about some of my research on interdependence and how when people have a sense of interdependence with other people, it's very easily for them to extend warm feelings and altruism towards those individuals. And the thing I've been puzzling over is that's a very powerful tool, and but it extends to a relatively small circle. Interestingly, in the last 50 years or so, the world has become increasingly interdependent. And if there were a way for us to convey the amount of interdependence that people in the world actually are, think about the pandemic and economic interdependence, those kinds of things, then we could really cultivate some of these warm feelings that are usually more local. I was wondering if, from your experience and tradition, if you had any thoughts on this question, this puzzle.
단다 쿠란즈
가사.
심주 체베
아.
쿠란즈 단다 체리기 돈에 심주 체베 줍도연이야 지조든데 나로리야 찍라 찍땡기 내주 신윤도가 대성은 닝예와 용고요레스 대이네 루유고토네 대베나 찍라 찍땡기 지조디게 춘준으로 보지 요레스
슈거래.
충중레스 그다음 밑에 자라가시아가시마도 동대들에마도 요마로 대이네 다대 두줄이야 자물린 교와시부 친제 펜주 펜조를 망부지고 돈에 시부지 찍을 지대로 와서 디자 디실샤베 토네 로미지 창말이야 로미 창말이야 찍을 찍된베 펜주 뚜두고디 삼르다에 차베체 탑람로지 가려요나스
Now, basically, worldwide, the idea of democracy, with people everywhere accept that totalitarian system outdated. So that is the principle. Respect public and listen their view. That's very good. Now the public also now should sort of develop the thinking entire humanity, not just one's own small country or small party. No. 7 billion human beings. We have to live together. So world peace depends on 7 billion human beings. So now more wider thinking. Now there now, I think, reach that kind of, as I always say, oneness of 7 billion human beings. We all want a happy life, peaceful life. Now, world should be genuine, peaceful world. No military forces, no weapon. Small disagreement through talk with patience. So now, time must change. So we have to think according to the new situation. So that is my view.
So basically,
Thank you.
People basically more educated, more awareness, all these, different media also very helpful. So now, okay, now we have to live together happily, no longer too much emphasis I and they. No, we all same human brothers, sisters. We have to live together.
Thank you so much, Your Holiness, for this really important message that you have transmitted to us this morning and warm-hearted way. And I want to invite first John and then Richie to do a brief reflection so that we can tie this session together. And just to say, for all of us here, we'll have a tea break, but what I hope is that it'll not just be eating the good cake and tea, but you'll begin to formulate some questions and also what have been your learnings. But let's now move to John. John, would you stand up, please?
Oh, sure. Stand up. Thank you, Roshi. Your Holiness, I think we can see a beginning of a conversation here that is about some very important issues concerning the way in which Buddhism, or even Buddhist science,
그래서
다는 낭주 그 떠줍다 체리 그 돈에 타는 디 도미 지규 그 도시에다 두주토리아 신에 내가 묘약 부용해 지 시럽이 땡기 두스람.
and in particular, I think you've made a very interesting point that I was reflecting on, which is, in a sense, despite all of our diversity, what is some content? What is it that we could teach that actually could be shared in a way that would promote that sense of a global culture, of a global identity, of common humanity? And I was reminded of a quote from Shanti Deva. In Sanskrit, it says, "Ye kechit digvita loke sarvete swasuke chaya. Ye kechit sukita loke sarvetenya suke chaya." All those in the world who are unhappy because they are seeking their own happiness.
지된 동해 지니바.
그래서
준주 나로라 지된 군주가 남바데 삼당에 걸 준주 책의 텐선스 지된 동해 지니바 대고 란데 되려 총세 텐선스.
And all those in the world who are happy are happy because they seek the happiness of others. And so I wonder whether this is in some ways can be the basis of this common education. Just to understand that could bring all of us together, perhaps.
tanda kundiyung ku tanda di chö da ma drebe to ne nyingji lo jaya da tu zu khe chimbu yinba ko de shen yung ki dikzu nal ya ngoto che ka nang do as di tanda ka na ya di hi sha se de tanda jun ju nal jiden do ngai chin ye ba te go ran de le chung se da jiden de wa chin ye ba te go shen de le chung se de za we sam dang sa di shi le sha be na ene kundiyung gong ba de drup tu ya ji re sha slam
Dire, ngai di, 최고 시킨 가서서 장내 맞아네. 전다디 지전 동네 진입을 되게 장된 될래쇼. 지전 대화 진입을 되게 샹된 될래쇼. 마음도 셔던 메시 지버랑 같은 투버 시기 단서버 니기네 잡아도. dakti shenji tunga da yangda chawar masha na sanje nye tu midru chu kawa na ya dewa me. Dewe kyunga kun sewe chanju simki tasha ne. Dene dewa rawa la simshi sushi gilu gyul sadrisha. Ene ki ho ho sindrari.
His Holiness says that he really agrees with one John was pointing out from these insights from Shantideva. Of course, this is coming from a Buddhist text, but the content is really universal. And he says, as John cited, the same verses then follow by saying that, what need is there to say more? Just compare between where we are and that of the Buddha. Buddha, who has devoted their life for altruism, is fully enlightened. We who have been stuck in self-centeredness is where we are now. And therefore, he says that those who aspire to this enlightened state should really ride the horse of altruistic heart and then travel from place to place of joy. What intelligent, discerning mind wouldn't want to do that? So, and that's a beautiful verses from Shantideva. He's giving the imagery of someone, with enthusiasm riding a horse to a place of joy.
Beautiful.
우먼주베 치디 간인다르 청기 그주더니 샤야가고 제교고 망베게 말이
ngabe
좋아하는 거서 어디 대달로 세게 나와 세제네 랑글라나 네베 큐루 라셴도 스승들다 멀리 되네 게메바 또대 다니에 담배도 좀 고본로 사다되기 간다지 처럼 아니 전쟁원에 여버진 안으로 넘기올 때 뒤때네 매대봐 아니 왜 파자요나 관점 표시서 셔바나시 그 명대 샤스무시 마도 매대버지기 대달로로 세게 나와서 랑가라나네 스승들다 멀리 되네 게메바 또대 다니에 담배도 좀 고본로 다동고부도 상대 인명이 조금에 발라 니상 개버시 대kon대지 송제 상제之间에 멀리 번호로에 파버셔봐 그조더니 샤야가고 자교고 강배교고 되네교 강배이 두두단에 개별론의 수도 개별연의 자수 바로 초동조 우먼주의 시디 엔년다르 샤게 대상당 지대기.
So, along with the verses that John indicated from Shantideva, there are also a set of verses from Chandrakirti in entering the middle way, which I recite regularly, where Chandrakirti speaks about how through the insight gained from applying our wisdom, particularly exploring the nature of reality, which points to us that what we assume naturally as having some kind of objective intrinsic existence out there is just an assumption, that we need to let go of that reification and grasping. And then as you come to recognize the true nature, which is empty, then that will also open a way of a path. And that wisdom needs to be combined also with compassion for all being as a natural expression of that state of mind. And through the combination of the two, you can compare it like two wings of a powerful bird, the wisdom and the compassion. And through this way, we'll be able to travel to a truly enlightened state of mind. So these are verses that he also recites regularly.
Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Tanya Tempe to Jung Gokor Ro Sagi, Nai Godin Chitibuj Tabiaki, Sam Yalita.
So this the in the verse there is an indication that through the realization of the nature of reality, I seek towards the attainment of cessation. So in Solins was saying that he feels he can at least taste it, sort of this pointing towards that direction.
And this something in it, Nazunam Utah Shirunim Buta, Sikti, Gade, Parangade, Parasamgade, Buddhi Soha Sene, and Solemn, Jolam, Tonam, Golam, Melulam Sadi, Chik Sever Shoduga. Sangai did grow or Jagiorda. Mrs. Dagaran Yang grows, Lithuania something here.
So when we think about this combination of wisdom and compassion and then progression, then it reminds us of the statement at the end of essence, the heart of wisdom, where there is a statement saying "Gate gate para gate para samgate bodhisattva," which presents the progression of the mind through the initial stage of path of accumulations and so on. And His Holiness was saying that he's not only committed, but also feels that he's in this very life, that he's going through these progressions.
Oh.
Silibe Pugu, Samutu Sadi, the Chalamiato Stoviachiki, get something here.
So he's keeping in his mind and having the thought that this little child who was once born in the Amdo region in Silin area is now trying to get to that, at least the path of preparation.
I think Washi Chokoso get those Ladan training, Jotuachi.
So I'm also hoping that
Salam train, Sanjay Salam Drach.
I'm also hoping that I can drag along with me others to move towards the state of Buddhahood.
Your Holiness, thank you so much. I would like to just offer my deepest thanks on behalf of everybody here. And I want to, may I invite Richie, your old friend, just to offer a few final words. Few. And then, yeah.
Thank you. Your Holiness, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. In reflecting on this session, I have heard you, Your Holiness, in a very large group of Tibetans, tell them that ritual and prayer is not enough. We need to also train our minds. And you've also talked about every human being has the capacity for happiness. And we can even maybe go further and say every human being has the right to be happy. And so can you leave us perhaps with a few words about what can we do for the average person to help them train their mind to improve the state of the world? Are there insights that humans, one of the things I often say is that when humans first evolved, none of us brushed our teeth. Today, almost every human being brushes their teeth. If we spent just a few minutes a day training our mind, what should we do, Your Holiness?
Lo jangu yorwa. Lo jangu yowenza ta mikuma zolia. Mikuma zolia de lo jangue ta chi kechimbu imbata sikjinye jis.
I think basis of my hope is that we are social animal. The way as soon as we born, mother's affection. Without that, we can't survive. So then, I feel mistake is once we join education, there is no sort of kasota a special emphasis. Peace, in order to peace of mind, warm-heartedness, very important. This is nothing to do with religion. That I really feel in education field, one lesson we should include. Warm-heartedness is a really source of inner peace. Meantime, inner strength, self-confidence, and plus you get more sleep. So that I think in school we should taught student. Otherwise, when they heard compassion, then they immediately feel something religious thing. This is nothing to do with religion. Just for your own health or peace of mind, and including good sleep or good dream. So that I think in our school, I am thinking to seriously discuss with some Delhi universities professors how to introduce in secular education explanation about warm-heartedness is the key factor for inner strength and also intelligence.
Thank you so much, Your Holiness. I feel that we have, our assignment is clear.
그래서
nganzungwene leka chekwa karime nganzungwene leka karchiku yemete sebu chasons
그래.
nganzungwene leka karchiku yemete sebu chasons
Basically, we all human beings, we are brothers, sisters, and particularly in this group, you see, I totally relying your effort to materialize my thinking. So please think and make effort to concern your own community. Then through that way, gradually, worldwide, with humanity. I think at least 15, 20 years, I will live. So I try to explain continuously. And one example is show them my face. 87-year-old, or still quite looks quite like young. So I believe you all carry this my experience and my message, and wherever you go, and appropriate occasion, share with more people. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness, so much.
Okay.
That's all.
no
Well,